we support. We have some members of the committee here who work with individual agencies or partners, as we call them, and they're welcome to get up and speak if they'd like. Otherwise, I can run through all of this for you guys. Okay. All right. So, what is outreach, right? Outreach, fundamentally, it is about getting outside the church walls. It connects with and serves the wider community to demonstrate God's love through practical acts of service and support. So outreach is really, it involves some giving of money, but outreach is really hands-on, boots-on-the-ground work with the community, right? And sharing some of our talents as well as our treasure with them. Our outreach committee here is really guided by three pillars. One is meeting the immediate needs of the community, right? So really, how do we serve those around us and meet the needs they have today? So we're not, necessarily funding foundations or big things in the future. It really is, what do we do today to help them with food, with shelter, with care and comfort that they may need. And the community isn't just the local community. A lot of our focus is here in the Milwaukee area, but we also have a few national or global activities as well that we can talk about. The second pillar is really working to develop deep and long-term partnerships, right? We want to become a meaningful partner with that agency or group that we support. Our ability to do that financially is limited, right? I mean, everyone appreciates the money we give, but we don't necessarily build these partnerships by giving money that is just irreplaceable. We're not necessarily the biggest contributor to any of these organizations. We really do it by working with them to find out how do we serve and work together, engage our parishioners with that agency and with their constituents. That's really what the deep long-term partnership is about, not about the money. And then last is involving church members and hands-on service, right? I've kind of mentioned that before. Really, it's about how do we get out in the community and do some work. Our committee meets the second Wednesday of each month at 10 a.m. via Zoom, so really super convenient and easy. So anyone's always welcome to join. And just by the numbers, so you get an understanding of the scale here at Christ Church, 4.5% of the church's regular pledged income, or operating income, is allocated to outreach every year, and that's supplemented by distributions from our endowment, other donations, certain event fundraisers we do throughout the year, like the Spaghetti Supper is a good example of that, if you're familiar with that in May, and then all sorts of other in-kind contributions. So when we do a coat drive or the food pantry for all peoples, things like that. That's all in-kind contributions. We support regularly about 12 different organizations, and our total budget for 2025 is about $85,000, right? So, which isn't small. It's not as big as the Greater Milwaukee Foundation or anything like that, right? But I will say, from the church I came from, that's about 20 times more than that church had. And we were smaller, but we weren't, 1/20th the size by any means. So that's a pretty significant number. And I will say that 4.5% has been steadily increasing over time. Vestry has a commitment to get that, I think, up to 5% in the next year or two. So it's been steadily increasing. So we find ourselves blessed with things ideas to, the opportunity to come up with more and more ideas for what we can do. All right. So who are our primary outreach partners? They're listed up here. Some you're probably familiar with all of them if you've participated in outreach or heard us talk about it in the past. I think it's a really nice mix of the types of folks we address, from youth to adults to elderly to people in some sort of personal distress or crisis situation, or people who are just living in continual poverty and struggling. And it's a mix of food, it's a mix of education, a mix of housing, right? All sorts of different things that we do to address through those organizations. And these are sort of our regular partnerships. We'll talk about each one of these. And feel free to stop and ask me a question if you'd like, or stop me and ask a question. So we'll start with All Peoples. Who here has actually worked at All Peoples or St. Vincent de Paul? Actually, they're together on the page here. So this is a big one. A lot of people participate in this one. So you probably know about it. All Peoples Church, or All Peoples Gathering Church, we learned that actually is their full name, or just All Peoples. It's a cross-cultural congregation in the Harambe neighborhood. very long-term outreach partner. Lynn, do you know how many years? I mean, is it 15 years? Yeah, 15, 16 years. And St. Vincent de Paul, folks may be familiar with that. That's a Catholic ministry that offers daily meals, and they're housed in, one of their locations is housed in All People's Basement. So we serve there as well. Every third Monday at St. Vincent de Paul, we do that meal. All People's, we work in the food pantry and do other things with them throughout the year. So big upcoming events. Next Saturday is the All People's Partner Breakfast. Lynn, anything to say about that? Or yeah. So they have a breakfast for all the partners that support them. So good chance to meet other organizations, right, that support All People's as well. Right? Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. It's an ecumenical Lutheran parish, so it's in the Lutheran Church, but very ecumenical. And I know that the the St. Vincent de Paul meal service is north of 100 people every day of the week, because we only serve one day a month. They serve 5 or 6 days a week, a hot meal in their basement, right? And so the 2-3 times I've done it, it's easily been over 100 people attending, all from around that neighborhood, as the food pantry as well. We have a garden work day coming up, October 18th, if you want to get your hands a little dirty. I'm assuming that's cleaning up the garden for the fall, right? Yeah, probably, yep. And then as we get towards the holidays, we'll prepare hygiene and food bags and start accepting donations to those in November. So those generally get communicated at the service, through the newsletter, opportunities to bring things in. So ongoing ways you can serve around those one-time events. Again, mentioned every Wednesday, 10:45, a group of parishioners goes down and works at the food pantry, which I think is the picture here, sort of preparing food and packaging it up for folks to take home from the food pantry. The monthly St. Vincent de Paul meal service is on the third Monday from 5 to 6:30, and the folks in the aprons and in the serving line are right there. We typically also bring dessert, I think. We provide the food, so someone buys the food in advance, delivers it, and it gets prepared into a meal that evening, and then we also bring desserts and maybe fruit or something and package up a dessert. And then finally, you've all seen the little red wagon outside. We're in the Good Shepherd room, and how often do we bring it into the church? Anytime we want, we'll bring it up as part of the offering, and so you'll see that it's full at the moment. I saw that. Already getting some, yeah. So you can always drop those off in the red wagon. And I'm sorry for some reason the slide's cutting off at the bottom, but you can contact Lynn if you're interested in more information or getting involved, getting on her email list. Okay? Questions about that one? Awesome. Okay. All right. Next one is Sojourner. Sojourner Family Peace Center, right? I think is the full name, which is a domestic violence shelter in Milwaukee that Christ Church has had a very deep relationship with at a lot of levels. Seth was on their board of directors. Kent Lovern, one of our members, was very instrumental when he was still in the district attorney's office in getting it established and forming a good partnership between the shelter and the kind of law enforcement resources here in town. So it's a very deep, long-standing partnership in service to their guests and staff as they heal and move forward in their lives. And we do all sorts of things throughout the year. Preparing lunch bags, you see in the upper left there, a group of folks with lunch bags ready to go. Prepare and serve, I think, 6 dinners on site this year is the plan. And then throughout the year, just needed items, whether it's sheets for the children who are at the shelter to go away for a week at camp in the summer, laundry pods for doing laundry while they're at the shelter, clothing, toiletries, kind of any of those household items. A big popular one, and is a huge effort here internally, because we do it for Sojourner and a few others, and I think our own staff, providing cookie boxes for staff at Christmas, right? How many cookies did we bake last year? 100 dozen? Something like 2,000. 2,000 last year. So, you didn't count. But you're going to do more than that this year, though, right? All right. Other things we've done that are little bigger maybe in terms of scope, but not necessarily any more important. But in 2024, we worked with the diocese to secure a $5,000 grant from the diocese to Christ Church to go support Sojourner, and we renovated the sensory and teen rooms, which are pictured in the upper right, and those just turned out great. So spaces for the guests at the shelter to be at peace when they're there. And so a lot of ways you can participate. You can learn more about domestic violence. They come here periodically and talk to us about that. They do forums. They have a forum coming up? I can't remember. Yeah. End of October, they'll be here. Helping with the meals, items, lunch bags, cookie boxes. And we've got a triumvirate here of crack outreach liaisons. So Merity, Dolly, who you know was the executive director of Sojourner for many, many years. So she knows all about this place. And then Susan as well. So you can contact them for more info. All right? Excellent. Okay, another one that I guess I didn't realize we've been serving at this one for so long. We've been serving at the gathering for almost 40 years, and it's a community-wide organization of guest staff, volunteers who, again, it's a food service organization, feeding the hungry in mind, body, and spirit. And just about every 2 months, we serve lunch on a Saturday to help prepare that hot lunch, serve the meal, and then clean up. And I believe the gathering has several locations around town. Is that right? Yeah, I think we serve, Beth's not here, but I believe we typically serve at one of those locations, a regular one. Do we know which one? Does anyone? Running Rebels? Okay. So, again, and it's a great way to involve kids. So children, it's one thing children can get to. Like, I don't know that Sojourner children can come with us or not. I'm not sure. No. So, but this is a great place for like children to participate as well. So, you can contact Beth. She's not able to be here today, but if you want to learn more about the gathering, and again, it's not on the slide, but that date I think is coming up. We do have a calendar online and down in the Good Shepherd room, although I probably need to update it at this point because it was put up a month ago. Okay. Gathering. A newer one, one we've reinvigorated, right, is Habitat for Humanity. I know Christ Church a decade ago was involved in Habitat for Humanity. Stepped away from that for a bit, but last year we started getting back involved with Habitat for Humanity. And I think people are probably pretty familiar with the organization, right? They're a housing organization that puts God's love into action. This is their mission statement, by bringing people together to build homes, community, and hope. They have been growing tremendously as an organization. I think 2 years ago, they built 30 homes. They're doing 34 this year. They're doing 40 next year. They're the second largest home builder in Milwaukee County now, right? Commercial or private, commercial or nonprofit. That's amazing, right? Right. The second largest home builder. We learned that yesterday. So we renewed this partnership earlier this year, really earlier in 2025. Ways to serve. We do a couple of team build days a year. Pictures represented here. We've already done our 2 for this year. Back in June on that 98-degree day and Saturday, Seth and Pete Tomasi and Jim Benton and Brian Casey and myself, and I think that was our helper who was with us. Anyway, we went and put siding up on a house in the Harambe neighborhood. It's a very, very hot day. And then fresh, just yesterday, I was there with Paul Sawicki and Derek Riley, thank you, John Hinchy and Luke Sinclair and I. We laid subflooring on the second floor for what will be the second floor of a Habitat home over in the near northwest neighborhood on Mitchell Avenue. So we were just doing that yesterday. It was pretty warm, not 95 degrees, but it was a lot of sun up there on the rooftop. But that was, and you can see we got started with no safety railing, sort of jumping from, beam to beam, but eventually got a good workspace going and got a safety railing up just in time for the inspector to show up, which was good. So, should have been what we did first. But anyhow, we got that up. I will say Habitat, it's very safe. They've trained people there helping you. They provide you all the tools. You don't have to know how to do anything. But we fortunately both times had a pretty handy group of guys. So we'll do a couple of those next year, and those are just sort of Christ Church days, right? Us and maybe a few of the regular, what they call their habituals, their regular volunteers. But throughout the year, we're a member of the Building on Faith Coalition, and so there's an interfaith house that is some Episcopal churches and Lutheran churches. All of our sponsorship dollars help support that. Throughout the year, there'll be opportunities just on a one-off basis if you want to sign up for a Saturday, right, to work on that house. That is something I need to get better about communicating to everybody, but usually a month or two ahead I'll get notified that the Interfaith House needs 24 painters, first come, first serve, right, if you're interested in doing things like that. Other ways you can volunteer, you all are probably familiar with Restore, so Habitat runs a donation store, kind of a Goodwill type store, but of home housewares and other items for the home, so you can volunteer and help sort and organize donated items at Restore or help with clients who are coming in to select items for their home. And then we actually have an upcoming forum event, January 26th. Habitat's going to be here, give us an overview of the organization and what they're doing these days, combined with a youth activity. So one of the things they do with churches or other groups is they have youth decorate 2x4s, right? So with whatever messages or decorations they want to put on the 2x4s, and then those go into a home. So we'll have the youth decorating a few 2x4s while we are having the forum. So anyway, you can contact me. There's my email for more information about Habitat. Okay, sorry if I talk too much about that one, but it's the one I do. All right. Oops, did that not work? There we go. So another one is Our Next Generation. This is something else I learned putting this together, that we actually founded Our Next Generation, I understand. I didn't realize that. That's fantastic, and that's fantastic. So over 30 years ago, we started Our Next Generation, and this is the tutoring program that supports students around the ONG Center that's at 35th and Lisbon, and help them succeed in school, have an opportunity for higher education. Really, the objective is to, education is the correlation between poor education and poverty is pretty significant and high, right? So they're trying to correct that, do something about that. So we visit there on Wednesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. during the school year to work one-on-one with grade school students on reading and homework. There are other times you can go in, I think, other schedules available if that doesn't work for you, but that's a set time when I think Betsy and some other folks from Christ Church typically go in. So, and I don't know if they've started up this just yet in September, or I think it may be early October. I think Betsy was out of town some this month, so, but that'll get going as well. So, all right. So that's a good one. Another one, Tanzania. I think we hear a lot about Tanzania. I think in our regular prayers of the people, we pray for the Diocese of Newala in Tanzania, which is a diocesan relationship, right, a sister diocese. Christ Church actually supports that, but really a lot of what we do with our direct outreach activity is supporting the Diocese of Luweero in Tanzania, which is in the far northwest remote region of the country. I think Newala is more southwest in the capital, perhaps, of Tanzania. And we really got involved in that through Father Oswald, I guess, when he joined the church in 2019, and he brought these opportunities to us. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we've really done a tremendous amount of work in that diocese through the outreach budget, but then also through tremendous support in other ways from the congregation on top, the sort of supplement and add to that. And so we have now funded the construction of 2 parishes in that diocese. St. John's, which is one that was Father Oswald was very involved in while he was here, and then since he returned last year to Tanzania, he has established another parish about 20 miles away. It's a satellite parish of St. John's. And so it's largely financial contributions we provide, but also help and guidance and support and governance support for Father Oswald as because he's kind of running this ministry almost individually, right? And so we provide him help and support in thinking about how to administer it beyond just the money. And then I think, I believe a parishioner sewed the altar cloth for the St. Barnabas Church and sent that. So there are other again, these in-kind things that people do as well. But a lot of what we do is church buildings and materials, water supplies at St. John's, electricity, buying a generator for them, and then also established both a sewing program for girls in this community to learn a trade, and then more recently providing computers so youth there can have access to technology and become more computer literate, right, as well. So, how can you help? Needs are great, and so this is largely one that's, financial donations are important, as well as prayers. In fact, in outreach, we have some money in our budget every year for it, but there is now a separate sort of Tanzania fund at the church you can contribute to. It kind of restricts those donations to Tanzania, but it's one where we still have oversight of how that's used, right? So and Jean Mayer is really the driving force behind this one now, so you can contact Jean if you want to get involved or find out what other needs are out there. So, and that actually, the upper right, just so you can see, that was from July or early August, maybe. The St. Barnabas was blessed or commissioned, I guess, and that's Father Matt from our diocese. Father Oswald invited him to come over, and that's our bishop there with the local priest. And I think that's probably 39 people being confirmed that day, the day they opened the church. So pretty incredible. So, yep. And you wouldn't believe, I didn't put all the pictures of the church in there, but you wouldn't believe what was just a plot of dirt about this time last year, right? And now there's a church with roof, window, floors, pews, the whole thing. No electricity, no running water, but they'll get there. And there's, it's a picture of the sewing school, right? Another one that's largely financial for us at this point, and it runs really through the diocese, is the Haiti Partnership, which is a longstanding outreach ministry of the Diocese of Wisconsin. So Haiti Partnership, it's a ministry supported by Christ Church, is administered by the Diocese of Wisconsin, as well as their local community service partner. So one of the big challenges in Haiti all along has been the sustainability of organizations there because of the tremendous political upheaval in that country, and so they've worked really hard to establish a local nonprofit that has enough sort of integrity and management and governance so that we know the money that goes there ends up to where it's supposed to go, right? Because that was a real problem with Haiti, and not just in Haiti, but other parts of the world. It's a challenge, but they've worked really hard to ensure the money goes where it's meant. And so most of what we contribute to supports Parish of St. Mark's and their school in Jeanette, with tuition assistance and meals, and a community health clinic. What helps, Jeanette's a small town up in the mountains away from the main cities, and that's kept it a little bit safer, a little bit away from the troubles. Although I think they were pretty well impacted by the flooding they had there not long ago, I think last year. We make a sizable contribution from Christ Church every year, but you can also contribute directly by going to the diocesan website. They have a lot more information about it. So, all right. What else we got? One other important thread in outreach for us is really focusing on youth. So how do we bring our youth up in a way to appreciate the need to do service projects, and as well as and understanding the benefit that brings to the community and to themselves and their own faith development. So Elizabeth Draper, I'm always going to say Dryden, I don't know why, but Elizabeth Draper works very closely with our youth ministry to engage children in meaningful volunteer opportunities. And so they do things like create cozy bags of hats and socks and gloves that are given to some of our partner organizations. They've crafted beaded jewelry to send to the children in Tanzania. The pictures here, these are both from last spring's Garden of Eden spaghetti supper and bingo night, which is a parish-wide dinner, raises money for the community garden at All Peoples. And I think we raised close to $2,000 just serving spaghetti this year, right? And it goes to help the garden every year. I shouldn't. Her name's right there. Why can I not remember? Don't even know what I do to help myself sometimes. Yeah, and they'll help with baking Christmas cookies, and they'll do, again, they're volunteering with the Habitat for Humanity project that we'll do. They also, the middle school or high school youth might do a restore project, right, or restore day. So there's a lot going on there. So that's an important thread. Given the vibrancy of our youth program here, we really want to connect it into outreach as well. And then, okay, here's a big one. So, because this is coming up, right? So Gifts of Hope is returning this year. So we weren't able to do it last year, but we're going to have it this year. And Gifts of Hope, Sandy, if you want to keep going? Sandy's in charge. And most of our partner organizations attend this, so it's a really good chance for them to get to know us a little better, for you to talk to them directly as well. So it's a really nice way to kind of build that partnership, that deepening of the relationship. So I think we'll have most of them here again this year. So yeah, we're around 15, 16 invited. I think one we're not sure about, but because it's our partners and then a few others that have traditionally come as well. So, okay. Let's see. Other things going on just to be aware of. All People's Church, we do a winter coat donation drive. That should be starting up October 1st, although I think I see some coats in the wagon, so they've already started. I mentioned Gifts of Hope, cookie baking and gift box packing. The packing will be on December 19th. I'm assuming the baking a little days before, so I know Meredy and others will be recruiting chefs or cooks and buying out the inventory of butter at Sendix. So, I understand. Okay. And then a new one. Don't have a slide for it yet, but a couple of folks on our committee are working on a new outreach effort. Seniors helping seniors. So it is a program to support older members of our church community who've formerly been able to attend and maybe aren't able to attend as frequently anymore. So it's everything from, I think, some get well cards. They're trying to consider exactly what they can do. Just phone calls, potentially rides to church if they want to attend in person and help them do that. So they're kind of working on building the momentum around that. So more to come on that one probably next year. We do have a live calendar now on the church website. If you go to the outreach tab, it might be called Serving Others on the website there. If you go there, you'll find information about all these organizations, links to their information as well, and then the calendar if you just want to look week by week what's going on. And we're getting better at keeping that updated. So we also keep it posted on the bulletin board in the Good Shepherd room if you're not digital. So there's a copy of it there. And then coming soon, if I can figure it out this fall, we are going to start some type of monthly outreach email bulletin. So in addition to the weekly email, we'll have an outreach-focused communication that you'll be offered the option to opt into. So it won't come to you automatically, so we're not just spamming your inbox with things you don't want. So, but we got to work through how we kind of work on that. So that's what's upcoming. And, whoops, went the wrong way. Oh, no, that's not right. Okay, that is right. So just so you know, some of the other organizations I mentioned we support purely financially, the Hospitality Center in Racine, the Interfaith Conference of Greater Milwaukee. There's also a national organization, Episcopal Relief and Development, which raises funds largely for disaster relief is what we support. So after major flooding or fires, they'll tend to have funds that we will give some of our allocated money towards. And then also various one-time donations to organizations in need. So if you're aware of an organization and you think we could help them out in some way, we're always willing to listen to them, their story, see if it matches kind of our how well it matches with our pillars and what their need is, and see what we can do to support that. So we're not going to probably replace the loss of major federal grant money, but we can do our part, right? So. And let's see, where to go for more information. Again, I mentioned the outreach pages on the church website, the bulletin board. You can always email this address, outreach@christchurchwfb.org. That is, we have our dedicated outreach inbox within the church systems, and so we actually handle most of our communications through that. So it's a great way to email for anything. Or lastly, join the outreach committee. So you can be as involved as you'd like to be. So, but if you come to enough meetings, you'll end up being asked to do something. So, all right. Thank you very much. And I'll end with one picture, just so you know that my time in Spain wasn't all tromping along the Camino. This was sunset, our little light dinner in San Sebastian, Spain. So sunset, setting of the mountains. And I'd gone to the market and bought some little bits of food. We were tired of big meals in restaurants. Couldn't have another one. So anyway, it's my favorite picture from the trip. So yeah. Yeah, it was nice. Questions? Yes. Uh-huh. No, we are looking for other groups we can work with and support. I'd say the one of the things the committee, as we think about things, we want to have an organization where we know we can make an impact. The organization is going to be sustainable, but also we've got the boots on the ground that can support it, right? We could easily overextend the parish, right, in terms of taking on too many little things and not being able to have people show up when we'd like them to show up. So we do have this sort of delicate balance of as large and as growing as ours a parish, still it's a challenge even to get 5 or 6 guys out a couple times a year to do a building project, right? Just with people's schedules and all of that. So it's a balance. So I can't promise we can do everything that comes in front of us, right? But